Okay.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Rivulous Irrigation Training Series. I'm your host, Richard Restuccia, and I'm really happy to be talking about a subject that everybody seems to grapple with at some point when they're talking about water management, and that is the question of how long to water and how often. And we've seen many tools out there that help us solve this issue. And I got to tell you, one of my favorites is the one we're going to be looking at today, and it's the Manna software. And I got a demo of this a few months ago, and I was really amazed at how well it worked. I love that I got push notifications on information about my irrigation, and it certainly solved that problem of I need an app for my apps. Data driven to me for me to help me make decisions, which is great. So I started to ask around, and I said, who would be really good to give a demo on this Manna software? And without exception, I was told Tal Shilo. And I got to tell you, I've met her a couple times now. She's got a Ph.D. in agronomy, which is quite impressive, but it is also matched by her passion for the subject. And that's what really separates people in water management for me from, the common people, is just how important this is to them. And Tal certainly has that. She is our VP of agronomy and a delight to work with. And certainly I've appreciated what she's taught me about Manna. And so I wanted to be sure to bring her to all of you so you can learn how to better use this software. So Tal, thank you for joining us today.
Wow. Thank you, Richard, very much for having me.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we're lucky that you're helping us out. And, maybe you can help us right from the beginning, just touch on what this Manna software is. Sometimes I call it satellite imaging, and I know how that is not, it's just a piece of it, right? It's what you do with these images that makes all the difference, but it's better if you tell than me. So please help us out here.
Okay, I will. So yes, Manna actually is a software, and it is based, a lot of it is based on satellite, but actually it's a solution that provides irrigation recommendations and crop monitoring tools to growers all over the world. We do use satellite data, and we use weather data, and also other sources of agronomic data and agronomic parameters and models. So we will be able to provide growers with two main components, let's say, or two main things. One is an accurate and site-specific irrigation recommendations. And that is in order to support decision-making in irrigation based on more intelligent information, on more site-specific and accurate information. And the second is high resolution, the bird eye view that is often really missing from agronomy, from agriculture in general, that can really help growers to better manage their fields, their farms. They can overview really frequently their entire operation, and it can really assist locating different issues. We have customers all over the world using this tool, cultivating dozens of different crops and under various irrigation methods and regimes. I do have to say it is an affordable and user-friendly platform that can really help growers make better and more informed decisions on irrigation and their farm management in general.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's really interesting, and I can see why the extra detail is important, because wouldn't want to sell the product short. That's for sure, and that really is a lot of help that you and your team are providing. One thing I wonder about, though, is I look at this first slide and it says Manna by Rivulous and Jane Logic. Can you help our viewers kind of understand what's going on here?
Yes, so definitely. So very recently in April, actually, we had a merger of Manna and Jane Logic. They becoming a global leader in irrigation management. And this is a part of a wider merger of our parent companies, Rivulous and Jane. And so this merger will enable a unified company to offer a wide range of solutions for the entire irrigation process for every grower in the world of any size and type. And we are still working on the product integration and fine-tuning all the details, and we predict that the new offering will be released during 2024 to include different, let's say, different levels to our different levels of service to our offering.
I gotta tell you, it's great to be on the Rivulus team now. And when I was on the Jane team and I was managing sales for Jane Logic, the biggest competitor that I worried about was Manna. And I saw all the great things you were doing. And so it's just so pleasing to me to see this merger happen and see that these two great companies are merging together. And more importantly, the value for our customers is huge. And as somebody who puts their reputation on the line selling products, to see this combination, I'm so excited for our customers to really get the benefit of this merger.
Yes, definitely. So today, actually, I'm going to talk only about Manna, but definitely, Richard, please invite me again after we complete this merger completely to one single product. I will be happy to share what we are offering then.
You bet. And I just want to make two quick comments right now. One, I've got the Q&A open. So if you have some questions during the demo, put them in there and I'll relay them to Tal as we go along. And then number two, I just want to confirm at the end of this, there's going to be a QR code for people to get a free demo to the software. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's going to be a QR code on this video. It is also possible just to log into Manna website to start a free trial. And I will show that. Yeah. I will show it in a few minutes.
Okay. And yeah, and I really appreciate it because you're going to do a live demo now for us. Is that right?
Yes, I will. Before I go, before I dive into the demo and show you actually the platform, I did want to briefly review just how Manna works and just gives you a little bit of background on how our models are working. So let me just switch the slide. And okay, so this is just to summarize very briefly how the model is working and the most basic steps we take when we are talking about irrigation scheduling, yes, and irrigation decision making. So the first step that we take is to estimate the crop evapotranspiration, or ETC, or you can call it also water consumption. And we do that using satellite images and weather data. This is, I guess, the core model within our product. What we actually do is take an index, NDVI index, which is the most famous index that is calculated, indicating the level of vegetation, and we convert that to the crop coefficient, KC, that usually is being used in irrigation protocols or irrigation tables. And together with the reference evapotranspiration, or ETO or ET naught, as I know that some people over there call it, we can estimate the actual ETC for every specific plot, actually for every specific pixel within the image of the plot. But when we are talking about irrigation, we do need to refer to a certain management zone. Yes, I wanted to add about that. Let me think what I wanted to add. Okay, I think this is it, because we really wanted to stay high level. And the next step would be to calculate a daily soil water content. We actually calculate soil water content based on the FAO 56. What I wanted to mention is that this calculation of water consumption, or ETC, is also based on the approach of FAO 56. just using different sources of data that are very precise to the specific location.
So we've got our first question coming in, and it's on this, right? So this viewer believes that KC is not as specific to a location, right? So if you used a broad KC of like 0.8 for tomatoes, it would be a generalized, but this actually gives it specific to the lot.
Definitely. And we do see very big differences. I mean, the difference can be because of different variety you are growing, a different territory, different soil type even. It can be the different conditions that are prevalent in this specific season. I mean, if you had late spring or drier summer, it could affect the development of your crop, and therefore it does affect also on the consumption of water of this crop during this year. So yeah.
That's amazing, right? I mean, because you couldn't find that information anywhere else. Very easily.
Yes, KC tables in general are very hard to find. I mean, you have global KC tables, but usually they will not be relevant to your specific variety that you're growing or to your specific location. So if I may, can I move forward?
Sure, you bet. Thank you.
So I was talking about the soil water content or the soil water balance calculation that actually is taking into account all the inputs of water into the field, which would usually be mostly irrigation and rainfalls, and the outputs of water. Mostly it would be the crop ETC. This is the parameter that we calculated beforehand in the previous step and some deep calculations. And then we can understand actually what is the amount of water depleting from our root zone. So again, this is a calculated value, but this is not the end. I mean, this is not the final recommendation. Then there are different agronomical models and different considerations to be taken, such as the specific of the irrigation system, its efficiency, for instance. It can be different parameters of the soil or the quality of water that you are using for irrigation. It could be other logistic constraints, and of course, some phenological stages or aspects of development of your specific crop that are taken into account to generate the final irrigation recommendation. So I think if there are no more questions about this part, I can move to the demo.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great. Can't wait to see this.
Okay, so here we have a little bit of a technological challenge, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you right now. Our software is working both on desktop and mobile, and I just wanted to show everyone how easy it is to start a free trial, or even if you are already have a subscription to Manna, it is very easy to create new fields, to enter the data using your mobile or your desktop. So I'm going to show some part of the most part, I would say, of the demo on my desktop. But first, I wanted to show you how easy it is to start your free trial using your mobile. So I'm already logged in with my own mobile phone, and I will stop sharing my desktop for a second, and I will be sharing my mobile phone. Where is it?
So when we get a link or when we do the QR code, we'll get the opportunity to set this up on our phone or desktop. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, this is the being able to see this on my phone and use my phone in the field was really something I was excited about, because you do get a lot of information there, and it is pretty easy to maneuver around, which we're going to see.
Yes, definitely. So this is actually Manna's website from the mobile phone, and I just wanted to show you, even if you miss your scanning the the QR code, although you have the recordings, but you can also just go into mannairrigation.com and just start a free trial. Just press on start a free trial. You will need to enter some really basic details, and then you can start entering data related to the fields you are going to create. So I have already entered some of the basic details. You know, it's like your name and your phone number. So I will skip that part. And I will just go to the next step, which is actually to create my field. So this is the screen you will be reaching after you've entered your email address and your name. And I will draw my field by tapping. So I already actually draw it before, but let me just zoom out a little bit. So this is near the place that I live. And I will just for the sake of the demo, I will just choose one field over here to focus on. And I can just, also if you have a pivot or something, you can choose a circle to draw your pivot really easily. But because I'm just drawing a rectangular field, I will use just the polygon, and I will put the cursor on one corner and just place point, go to another one, to another one. I can zoom in a little bit even more.
And so what are you actually tapping? The screen now or
No, you see on the bottom, there is a place a point. So I'm just using the screen to set the cursor on the corner of the field. And then I just I press on place point in the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you cannot see where I press. And just to finish that, I will enter the last one, and it is done. Okay.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, it's very easy to draw it. You can also use in your desktop, you can also use a KML or some kind of a shapefile if you already have it made for your farm or your field. So it can also be easier like that. And I will confirm and continue. I will just enter a name of this field. And for instance, I will want to choose, I'm growing this time corn grains, let's say. Can choose between different crops. Let me start my season. So obviously this is not realistic to Israel right now. We are not growing corn grain right now. We are not sowing corn grain, but I will just set today as the planting date. I can choose a little bit back and also of course forward. Then the system is calculating. Yeah, I think that it shows a really short protocol or a really short duration of the season, because really it's not a season. I can change that if I want. Okay, let's say I'm growing 120 days. The soil type is brought automatically according to a global soil map that we are tapping information from, but you can change it according to your knowledge. And of course, you do need to pick your irrigation system. For instance, I will choose drip. Finish. And that's it. I mean, that's it. Your field is created. It can take a little bit of while, a few minutes or something like that for the field to actually appear. But that's it. You're on.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. As far as the crops to select from, there seem to be a ton of them there. If somebody has a crop that's not on there, what do they do? Can they do anything?
So usually we try to work only with the crops we have. I mean, these are crops that we know that we can support. But if there is any need or something like that, any question, of course, you are really welcome to write to us, and we will see what can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there seem to be plenty, that's for sure.
Yes, definitely. So I am going to switch back to my desktop.
So if we have a second right now for a perennial like almonds, What do we use for the planting date, right? There wasn't necessarily a start. It's
Yes. So if you choose almonds, you will be asked when is bud break. So so this would be your beginning of the season.
yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
Okay, so I'm going to leave my slides for now, and let me just show you the desktop view. And I chose this one because this is a farm that actually has it's a big operation that is growing in Eastern Europe. Many different field crops, cotton, mostly corn, wheat, and so I really chose this one so you will be able to see how nice it looks to be able to see your entire farm in one place. You can zoom in to look even closer what is going on in your fields at any specific date. Yeah, and I wanted to mention, because it's very important, you can switch between dates here. And actually, when you start your subscription with Manna, or even in the free trial, you already can see 3 years past to this date of satellite images. This is very important. In order to understand or to analyze previous years, you can compare different seasons of the same field, for instance, or different areas. Very useful pieces of information for any grower.
Yeah. So just so I heard that clearly, if I start today, even starting today, I can still look back 3 years.
3 years, yes.
That's amazing. That's such valuable data. Wow.
And over here, we do have the type of different maps that we provide, and I will elaborate on that later when we look at a specific field and we will look at the page of crop monitoring. We will have the same list of maps, and I will elaborate on that later. So what I also wanted to show you is over here is the weather panel. So generally, the weather data is brought to us by a provider, a global provider that we are working with, that provides us actually virtual weather data with very good accuracy and in very good resolution. I mean, very site specific. However, for growers who have their own private stations, private weather station, if it's from a vendor that we are working with and we have integration with many vendors, they can just integrate their own station just to receive and to present. And also the data that are being used for the models will be taken from their own weather station.
Yeah, that's great. And then I noticed this is in Imperial. For our international customers, it also exists in metric.
Yes, of course, in metric. And also, I must say that we have many different languages for our software, not only English. So I can't even remember how many, but really many languages that we offer this software. So over here below, what you see here is the daily ETC for each field and each zone. And also there are the daily irrigation recommendations. Also, I will be saying more about that later when we talk about a specific field. And below that, just different alerts that we detect or we alert the user. For instance, if it's time for dry and start, according to the timeline that was inserted, or if there is a problem with uniformity in any of the field, it will be presented in the alerts panel. Another very interesting view I wanted to show you in this, we call it farm dashboard, is the plan page. So the plan page, you can view just in one place the table for the irrigation plan for your entire farm, for your entire operation, for each of the zone on a weekly table. I will just push that aside for a second so you can see it better. It's very useful when you manage a big operation for irrigation planning and for the recommendations. So yeah. And over here, you have the menu just so you are able to really easily switch between your farms and between the fields within this big operation. This is the farm dashboard, and we can move forward to look at a specific field unless we have maybe some questions related to that.
Yeah, I had, we have a couple. One, if you can go back a screen, is that possible?
I'll go back a screen.
That's okay. You had, there was a place to export to a CSV file or Excel.
Oh.
So those schedules are easy to share with others that way.
Yes, definitely. And I know that some irrigation managers or irrigation team like working in their Excel and have their own calculations. So yes, definitely you can export this data, this table.
Okay. Great. And then are there certain weather stations that are compatible? Are they all compatible? How's that work?
Actually you can use it, you can just see it here. If you choose your private weather station, you can see the different vendors that we already integrated with. If there is another vendor that is not on the list, but you know that he has his data available through API, you can definitely write to us and we will check if we can integrate to this vendor as well.
Yeah, well, it seems like you've got all the big, big ones there. So be a big outlier.
Okay, so I will move forward to look at a specific field. And for that, actually, I chose a different account, a different customer of ours. So what you see here is a farm. It has only one plot of orchards of almonds within the California Central Valley. And you can see that this specific orchard is divided into two zones. Each one is irrigated using a different valve. And again, this is the farm view. For instance, just for the sake of this demonstration, it holds only one plot. Of course, it can be many, as you can see, actually unlimited. So if I just press on this field, or if I go through the menu, I can enter this specific field. And I will, first of all, get the irrigation scheduling page. So let me just review this page, and if there are questions, I would be very happy to answer. So you can see here the map, which indicates which one is valve 1 and valve 2, and the season timeline as was inserted by the grower, the user. I will collapse that so we can see the entire view. And first of all, what we see here for each of the valve is the calculated evapotranspiration. So as I mentioned before, this value is calculated based on the satellite data and our calculation of crop coefficient based on the vegetation level that we estimate from satellite together with the weather data. And so this is sort of a calculator. Yes, you can see yesterday's value. You can choose between how many days you want to accumulate backwards if you are irrigating in return, or if you want to plan forward, you can choose a specific number of days forward. You can also choose a specific range of dates, of course, to accumulate etc. And this is for our growers that would like to have the more basic parameter in irrigation decision making, and to put their own considerations on top of that parameter. So this is why this calculator is for. And but in addition, of course, as I mentioned before, we do have the more deep, I would say, model that takes into account other considerations as well. And you can just press on the arrow here and see actually your entire season from beginning and 2 weeks forward from today for the forecast. What we see here is the daily ETC, again, calculated, as I mentioned, based on satellite and weather data. And over here are the actual irrigation recommendations. They are set according to the schedule that the grower have set when he created the field, or he updated the schedule sometimes during the season. This schedule is displayed this way, but of course it's very easy to just drag and drop if you know that you did something different. I mean, if you didn't irrigate on the 6th, you irrigated 1 day later, you can drag and drop it. You can also, if you know that you had some sort of a constraint, for instance, and you didn't irrigate the entire amount, you can also update this value very easily. And then you can see that the future recommendations upcoming in 2 days will be updated accordingly, according to the change that you made. Okay, so then you can be sure that we take into account even if you didn't irrigate sufficiently, it will be considered in the next irrigation event. Over here is the rainfalls. We do consider effective rain amount, but we actually present all rain events, and this data will be taken from the weather source, which is either our provider or a local weather station. And below that is the calculated soil water content. So as I mentioned, we are calculating soil water content in the root zone depth. And you can see just how it is, also just to hint you if there is something to maybe to advance your next irrigation. If you are nearing the readily available line and you are might face some stress inflicted on your crop. So this is again a calculated value, but it can give you an indication of some action that might need to be done related to irrigation decision making. So I think I will stop right here in this page. And before I go to the next one, if there are any questions related to that, I will take those.
Yeah, so talk about, wow, what a lot of great information in a easy to find space. We don't have any questions at this point because, again, it is pretty simple so far to use. We're interested in what else is here. This is incredible.
Okay, great. So let me go over to our crop monitoring page. So in the crop monitoring page, we first of all see the latest satellite image that was taken. And this is the vegetation map. This is the most common or most useful map that we present. It is dated from 3 days ago, but I actually saw that there were images or satellite overpasses also yesterday and the day before, but they were just cloudy, so we do not present those. Again, here you can scroll back 3 years past. And over here on the right, you see the same map indicating vegetation, but this is in a relative scale. I mean, it's not an absolute scale as this one. And what it does is actually stretches between the lowest and the highest values of our vegetation index. And you can see the scale here on the bottom. And what it actually helps growers is to see the variability within their fields and more easily detect areas that might need their attention, because when we look on the absolute scale, it can look a little bit uniform, and when we look on the relative, we see that there are areas within this orchard that are lower in vegetation relatively. Yeah, so this is the vegetation map, and again, we can scroll between dates over here. And I wanted to show you the plant wetness map. So this is again a very useful map that I haven't seen in many other solutions or in any other solution. And what this map actually shows you, it indicates the moisture of the crop within the canopy, not within the soil. And this is a very useful map to be using with the knowledge of the irrigation and when it was done and where. I mean, over here in this map, from what I'm seeing, I mean, I don't really know this orchard, but if I was the grower, I assume maybe I knew that valve 1 was irrigated more recently than valve 2. You can see that this area is relatively more wet. But of course, if I know that I operated, for instance, the entire area, and over here there is an area that is lower in level of moisture, it might indicate some issue. I will show you some very interesting cases later. I will move forward to another type of map, is the evapotranspiration map, which actually shows you in inches how much water each area of your plot is consuming. And more recent map that we've added, another more recent map, is the nitrogen map, actually showing you the nitrogen content within the canopy. Also a very useful piece of information that has to come with the knowledge of when you applied fertilization. Usually you would want to look at this map 1 or 2 days, I would say 2 days after fertilization application, just to make sure that it is uniform. So with this, I will move to the Manalytics.
Yeah, I gotta say, with time and labor being such an issue, that last screen you showed and the different things we can see, I mean, what a labor savings, what a time savings. And these are two of the biggest issues we're facing today.
Definitely. I have to say that in general, being able to look at your entire field, I don't say it's instead of going into the field and mudding your boots and everything. It's not instead, but it really helps. It really helps knowing where it is important to go and just to pinpoint places that maybe need your attention. Okay, so the last page I'm going to show here is the Manalytics. And this is sort of it's Manna analytics of your field, or it is, as you will see, it is for each valve separately. And what it shows you actually is the season so far, the progress so far from the beginning till today. And you can see here the NDVI indicating the vegetation. So you can see where you are within the season. How did your crop develop? You can, of course, compare, for instance, between the two different zones, and maybe one reached a lower maximal level and was lower in vegetation. You can see the weather data and the irrigation and rain events that occurred during this time, according to the schedule and the information you inserted or you set within the program. And the soil water content, again, a calculated value, but can give you an indication if there were, and maybe in retrospect to understand if there were periods that you were nearing the readily available water line and might be inflicting your crop to some sort of stress. So it can also be in retrospect, of course. I think I will stop here again, unless if there are any questions, because I really have two very interesting slides, just real life cases to show of maps.
Yeah, that's great. We'd love to see those slides, and we have enough time to do that, so that's great.
All right, so I'm going back to my presentation. And the first slide I actually wanted to show here is taken from Mexico. And this is the drip irrigated field. Mm-hmm. And actually, this is a very interesting case, because this grower have joined Manna at the beginning of 2023 season. And when he created his field, what he saw is that he was looking at March 2022 for the previous season. He was looking at that information from the previous season, and what he saw, how ununiform his irrigation was, and he had enough time to fix that. And then after fixing that, you can see March 2023, a new season, after fixing his irrigation system, and the uniformity was very, very, very good, which actually brought him a very nice crop this year. Another example I wanted to show is this cornfield in Azerbaijan. So as I showed you before, the absolute vegetation map can sometimes look very, very uniform. This crop is actually in really full cover, full vegetation. So the map actually looks very uniform. However, this field, it was a 2-cycle of corn within this field. And in the first cycle, they had a very big rodent problem, which they treated before they started the second cycle. And this season is taken from the second cycle, and on the surface, everything looks okay, yes? But then if you look at the relative map for the same date, you can see that still there are areas that still suffer from some kind of problem. And actually it was found that this is the rodent problem insisting in this area. So very useful piece of information that can help you take action even within the season. Maybe something you will not be able to see with your own eyes when you walk within your field, or maybe it will be too late for that. So yeah, these maps, very frequent, with high resolution, can give this extra piece of information.
Yeah, so valuable, really able to see what is going on in your field. It would take a lot of hours to drive that and figure it out and even recognize the problem to start with.
Definitely. So we cannot say exactly what the problem is, yes, but if you look at your maps and you see a problem and you will be able to identify the problem probably using your own experience, but it will just pinpoint to you where your attention is needed within the entire field, within the entire farm. And with that, I would like just to show the slides of barcode. So if someone wants to scan it, I will give it enough time to stay here on the screen. And I invite all of you, of course, to come to our website or to scan this barcode and to start using Manna to see what benefit it can bring to you.
So, Tal, I just want to say first, wow, that was a ton of information and really usable information. You're going to make a lot of growers a lot happier and a lot more productive. So, so thank you, number one. Number two, a couple of questions about the trial. How many days does this trial last if I sign up for the free trial?
Yeah, so the trial is for 21 days. And you can create up to 40 acres of your field. Yeah, this is the trial.
Yeah. And so then, of course, what I'm thinking is, well, after the trial, I'm going to have to pay, and I'm going to be happy to pay as long as it's a reasonable amount. What do you tell people about what they have to pay for this later on?
Yeah, actually, if you go to our website, you can see we have different plans, and so there would be different pricing according to the area that you purchase and the plan that you choose. But according to my knowledge, it is not supposed to be no more than $2 per month per acre. Usually it will be less than that if you are actually choosing a longer period for your subscription.
That's amazing, right? When you think about, even if you just use it for insurance to check things out, that price is unbelievably inexpensive. And then when you think of all the other things you can do with it, that is such a bargain. That is just great.
Actually, Richard, one thing I missed and I really wanted to show, because you actually mentioned that before, and I will just go back for a second, excuse me. I just wanted to show you that over here, you can have Manna by Messages. I mean, you can press on that when you logged in and just register your phone number, your email address, and you can receive notifications and alerts to your WhatsApp, to SMS, to email, whatever is the most convenient to you about new image that was taken of your farm, the irrigation recommendation, and any different alerts that we provide will be reaching that. And so it can be much more accessible in case it helps someone to make use of this tool better.
Yeah, I love that part of it, right? Somebody helping me out, reminding me what I needed to do without, because look, we're all managing a lot of things every day. So it's what gets to the top of our to-do list, and water's got to be there. And this helps get you there.
Yes.
We had one more question coming in, and that is how often the imagery is updated.
So usually you would have an overpass of a satellite on a daily basis because we use multiple sources of satellites. However, the maps that we present in crop monitoring are based on optical satellites, and therefore they are sensitive or susceptible to clouds or to general atmospheric conditions. So in case there are clouds, we will not present, if it's heavy cloudiness, we will not present the map at all. Sometimes we mask a part of the field according to the data that we have on clouds. So I would say it would be around, in most places in the world, it would be around 3 images per week, but it can also be on a daily basis if it's not a very cloudy period of the year.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Daily is quite remarkable. So yeah, so I want to say, Tal, thank you so much for bringing all this information and the free demo to all our viewers. It was exceptional presentation and exceptional information. I want to say thank you to all the viewers. I know times are busy right now, and really appreciate that you'll take a little bit of your day to spend with us and improve your knowledge of water management, conservation, and sustainability. So thank you very much for that. We're going to be back next week, and we're going to be talking about some water conservation because we just finished the World Series that has to do with baseball stadiums. So it's going to be an important and interesting webinar next week. Again, Tal, thank you so much. And I want to remind everybody that all our 300 plus trainings are at the janesusa.com website /trainings. And you can find history of all our trainings there that are available for free. So thanks again, Tal. Hope to catch up with you soon. I hope you'll come back in a few months when this is merged into the Jane Unity and take us through this again.
I will be very happy to. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.